This video is an introduction to distance. As you can see, distance and slope have a lot in common. These look like we might be measuring the slopes of the line, and slopes measure how up or down, how steep something is. Distance measures how long it takes to get from one place to another. So when you think of distance, you might break out a ruler, but we're going to find a way to calculate distance without a ruler. Here's our first example. Just like in slope, we're going to count our ups and our rights, our vertical and horizontal distance. So I count up 1, 2, 3. I count right 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, this would be a slope of 3/4. But we're dealing with distance. And distance deals with the Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. This is our up squared plus our right squared equals the distance squared, the line length squared. So 3 squared plus 4 squared is what's going to get us the length of the distance. Right now you could estimate, if you count, you might go 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's about 4 long. Now, was that a very accurate estimate? No, this is not a full unit of measurement. It looks like it's going to be longer than if it were flattened. So it's not quite 4. Let's find out what it is. We have 3 squared is 9, plus 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. Now, 25 is the square of this, so we need to square root it, and we get the square root of 25. What is the square root of 25? It is 5. This distance is 5 long. That makes sense because it is longer than this top side of the triangle that we could form. So this hypotenuse is longer, it's going to have a longer length. Here's another example. We're going to measure our up distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to measure our right distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 6 and we have 8. So our distance is going to be the square root of 6 squared plus 8 squared. In fact, we could have added that here to help prepare us for the fact that the square root was coming up. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. We add them together and we get the square root of 100. The square root of 100 is 10. Let's see what this means. If I were to just guesstimate without using math calculations, I'd go like, oh, this is about 1, this is about 2, 3. That's really long for 1. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would have guesstimated that it's about 8 long. But I knew that each one of those was a little bit stretched out from 1. And in fact, it was. This is 10. Let's look at this one. Some of you are like, well, I counted the right. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? There's no up. What am I going to do? It's like 6 squared plus no up squared. 6 squared is 36. 0 squared up is 0. 36 plus 0 is 36. The square root, and I get 6. Was there a way I could have known this length was 6 before I did all that math? Well, yeah, it's a horizontal distance. I can just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The distance is 6. So for horizontal and vertical lines, you can just count and trust the distance. We use the distance formula for any line that's not exactly on the grid, any line that's crooked, any line that could be turned into a hypotenuse. Here we have A to B. I already have the vertical and horizontal distances drawn, but we're trying to find the distance from A to B. So let's count our vertical distance. Vertical distance up is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, a lot of you are talking about, well, it's a slope. It's down 12. And our horizontal distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our slope would have been negative 12/5. How are we going to turn negative 12/5 into a distance? Well, it's quite simple. We go negative 12 squared a squared plus 5 squared will equal our total distance squared. Again, we can start to square root this. And negative 12 squared. What is negative 12 squared? Negative 12 times negative 12 is a positive 144. Any number squared is going to result into a positive. So when we're doing distances, it actually is safer if we remove the negatives. Think about it. Yes, this was going down 12, and that's important in slope, but it's just a distance of 12. Your ruler says 12. Your ruler doesn't have a negative number attached. So we're going to kind of change this to keep us safe to 12 squared plus 5 squared. If you were to type that negative into the calculator and put it in, you'd get an error if you didn't put these parentheses around there. So inputting positive distances is really going to help us, keep us safe from math errors. We have 144 plus 25. That adds up to 169. And 169, we're going to remove that squared because we don't have that there. That looks like an exponent of 0. So equals the square root of 169. So this equals the square root of 169. We know from math that 169 is 13 times 13. So it is a distance of 13. If you were to count it out, you might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you might have guesstimated that it's about 12 long. It is in fact 13 units long. All right, our next one, we're counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have an up distance of 8. Our right distance is 0. What is 8 squared plus 0 squared? Why, it's 8 squared. And when we square root 8 squared, we get 8. This distance is 8. Which, again, we just counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is a distance of 8. It's vertical. All right, here we have one that does have a vertical and a horizontal distance. So this is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we're not going to write a negative 5, even though the slope is negative 5 halves. For distance, we're going to think of it as a positive 5. That'll help us because when we do 5 squared, we get 25. If we had written negative 5, we also would have gotten 25. But I know some students would have written it as a negative 25. So let's keep ourselves safe. 25 plus 4 is 29. Our final answer is the square root of 29. 29 is a prime number. There's no way we can simplify this any further. We can estimate it. And 29 square rooted, that's close to the square root of 25, which is 5. So this is about 5 point something. It's in between 5 and 6. Here on our next one, we have a distance of 2 and a vertical distance of 4. 2 squared plus 4 squared. 2 squared is 4 plus 4 squared, which is 16. And we have 4 plus 16, which is 20. So this is the square root of 20. Now, in geometry, we allow you to write the square root of 20. But as we keep going in the distance unit, we start to practice breaking down the radicals. So the square root of 20 is the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. You'll remember this from algebra class. And 4 is 2 times 2. So this is like square root of 2 times 2 times 5. We circle our 2's, bring them out to the outside because they're pairs and not single ladies. And we end up either way with 2 times the square root of 5. So this answer is, we can write it square root of 20. We can write it 2 square root of 5. Or we could estimate it, and this is between 4 and 5. So it would be 4 point something something.